Okay, for the power block assembly, if you buy them directly from Retro-Built Arcades, you're going to get it just like this, in a little kit, bunch of little parts. If you buy them from us, we're going to charge, they're only $6.50 from Retro-Built Arcades. If you buy them from us, we're going to charge you $15, but it'll be fully assembled. So if this looks a little bit much or out of your wheelhouse, you can buy them from us, spend just a little over double the price, and you'll get it pre-assembled and pre-adjusted. So the tools that you'll need to assemble this is solder, soldering iron, a little tiny screwdriver, voltage meter, and something to cut with. You could use a kitchen knife if it's strong enough. I just use the razor blade knife. And also you need a little jumper wire. It doesn't have to be anything big. It's just, we're not going to have a switch in here, so when we go to plug it in, then we can test it out and adjust the voltage, because this thing is just a buck. So it'll be 12 volts out of the box. If you just solder this together, plug it in, you'll actually fry your Raspberry Pi and a memory card. Originally I expected this thing to be 5 volts. I didn't test it. I assembled it. I plugged it in my Raspberry Pi. Smoke came out of it, and that card, it was dead. There was nothing I could do with the card. And it was a 128 gig card, so it was $20. It's not gonna break the bank, but still, lose $20. But anyways, you start off, take all the parts out, put them off to the side, and you got this. You really only need 4 of these. It gives you the whole gambit in case you want to put them here for little jumpers later on. But we don't use that. So I'm going to take this out, and we get ready to cut one. Holding my finger here, so when I cut down, it doesn't go flying across my shop here. And 3 and 4. And that's it. Don't need any more of that. So now I'm going to put them into these. You can see the square holes on the corners. So I'm just going to put them in there. Well, first, let me take this out, because this is how I line them up. And that's the little buck I was telling you about. They call it a buck because it's like a down voltage. But you adjust it with this trim pot to just about any voltage you want. But for our case, we want about 5.5, 6 volts. I usually set about 5.5. So just in case solder leaks onto the board, I try to match these up. You'll see it says in here, it says in there. So I'm just gonna line these up. Get on there, come on. There we go. Whoops, I lost the other side. Aye. Okay, put these back in. All right, so they're in there, and you can see how it is. I don't know if it's focusing here. So now I'm just gonna hold it upside down, put it on my workbench, and take my soldering iron, solder, and I'm just gonna solder these 4 posts. But I kind of apply a little pressure to these. I don't know if you can see it from there. All right, see if I could do it like this. First, I'm gonna load up my tip. Get some solder started. Load up my tip. Get a little bit started. You see how it moves around just a little bit. So, and then I'm going to try this side one-handed. There we go. Try this side. There we go. Try this side. Whoops. That's in there. And then the last one, which is right here. There we go. So, there we go. Those posts are in. Now, the next thing we want to do is these little guys. And if you look at the board, you're going to see power in, which is this one, which we're not going to use because we're going to use this with a power supply. Switch 1, we are going to use. Switch 2, we're not going to use. And then, of course, the LED we will use. So, one thing I like to do is get a piece of wire and I just trim it a little bit because we need to make a jumper that's going to go in there, but we'll do that later. So let's put these in. So if you look at these, you can see one side there's no chance of getting a wire in there, and that side the wire goes in, so you want that facing out. So I have 1 and 2 on this side. Oh, sorry, it goes into switch 1. So you want it like that. You want one going into LED, one going into switch 1, and you can see here where the wires go in. So I'm just going to lay that down, and with those posts in there, now it sits pretty flat. So let me move this out so you can see it a little bit. Of course, I knock these out as I move it. There's 1 and 2. Make sure I'm in the correct orientation. And these are pretty quick to solder, so I'm just gonna hit it, and hit it. Done. So, and then you can see the soldering. So now we want to do the end here. So here we need 3 of them. Now we're only using 2, but you know, this is an extra. These are all 12 volt. That's 12 volt. This side is going to be 5 volt. So, but if when you put these in, they actually kind of wedge together a little bit. So, and you can see there's, I don't know if you can see the little notch in there, but they kind of go into each other to hold themselves into place. So, all right. So those are all up, as you can see, in a row. Oops. And whoop. So now I get this down here. They still all lined up. And we just turn it so I can see it a little better, or access it here. A little more solder. And again, these go really quick. So I just a little bit of solder, a little bit of solder, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, done. So now you can see these are all lined up. And so next, what we'll do, it really doesn't matter which one of these you do next, because you're still pretty strong no matter what. So I'm actually going to do this one first, and this is how we're going to connect the 12 volt power supply, which is right here. So we're going to use that to test when we're done. So flip this over, and this you want to give it some bit of solder. You got some good sized holes here to fill up, so I am going to hit this. There's one. Two. And 3. So you can see now where it's all soldered in. Yeah, I've done quite a few of these things, so it kind of makes it look a little easier than it is. And now the USB which you can see it just plugs in and it actually snaps in. It's got these two tabs, so there's no chance of it coming out. So, and if you can see, there's big holes here, so we're gonna have to fill those up with solder. So here we go. Whoop, let me just get in. There we go. Turn it around. There we go. Now I'm going to hit the little pins here. There's 4 of them. So we just want to just very lightly on these. It'd be very easy when you're soldering the little guys that they'll have a little solder bridge between them, and you definitely don't want that. So all right, well that's done. Now we're going to take the. Actually, I'm gonna make a little jumper real quick. So, 1 second. All right. Yeah. All right, this is just a regular old pair of wire strippers. And I just get a little tiny piece of wire. And I'm gonna snip the ends off. So now we just got this little guy here. Now I'm gonna twist the wires. Twist. And that one just needs a little bit more. There we go. Twist the wires. Now I like to pre-solder these, or just, it's called tinning. So I put a little bit of flux on here, and I'll have a little bit of solder on the tip of my soldering iron. I don't know if you can see it, and I'll just hit this. And you can see it just puts a little bit of solder on there, makes it nice and stiff, so you don't have the braids coming out like this one. So turn that. A little bit flux, a little bit of solder on the tip, and there we go. So now I'm just going to bend this in half and try to make them equal lengths because it makes it a little easier to get in. And this one where it says switch to, that's if you want to, you can turn the marquee on and off and leave the rest of the machine on, or you can just turn it all off. It's 2 switches. Generally when I turn the thing off, I want everything off. So and then for a little helper, sometimes it's good just to get a little pair of needle nose so we can squeeze that and just get them down through the hole here. There we go. We're in. So now I'm just going to flip it over the other side and then give a little bead of solder. Doesn't take much. And since we already tinned it, the solder is going to stick to it very quick, very fast. So now we don't need this anymore. Don't need that. So if you look at this, see, here is the in and then out. So if you look at this, here it says out, in. Always match these up. And since we soldered this together, or soldered the pins with this in there, it just lines up perfectly. So then we just flip it over on its back. Oh, I'm sorry, what am I doing? Flip it over on its back. I'm just gonna sit it here. And now we're just gonna solder the corners. But once you do this, that's it, it's not coming apart. And actually, I think for this one, no, I was going to put another one of these over here, but I think the button kit that's going with this one has built-in LEDs from the zero insertion or zero delay encoder. So, but generally, if you want to power like 5-volt LED buttons, you can just put one of these little guys in here, and because you have enough. And I've built so many of these things, I've amassed quite a stockpile of those things. There we go. And then this one's going to be a little trickier because it's down in there. There we go. So it's in. So now what I'm going to do is since we don't have a switch just yet, I'm going to jumper these two, which will act like a switch. So I'll just take this little jumper wire and put them directly in. And then tighten it down. And you don't want to tighten them too much because you'll see that wiggle when I go. So this is not coming apart. All right, so let's plug in the power supply and turn that off. Alrighty. So here we go. So now we should see a little blue LED light turn on when we plug this in. There we go. That is fine. I'll turn this on to voltage. And mine happens to do auto voltage, so I don't have to set it for like 20 volts, 12 volts or whatnot. So, and then if you look here, you'll see it's got plus minus. We're going to use these two right here. And I'm going to put my positive lead into the positive side. And then I'm going to put the negative lead, let me get out where you can see it, into the negative side. And then I'm just going to hold them here. And as you can see, my voltage reading is 1155 volts. So this is the little guy that I'm going to turn. And you want to go counterclockwise. And unfortunately, you have to turn this like 30 times before the voltage starts dropping. At first I thought maybe there was something wrong, or my meter wasn't very good. So, but here you won't be able to see me turning this thing. Let's see if I can get that in there. So it always helps actually if you have an extra pair of hands. But so I got it in there. Start turning this. There we go. And just keep turning counterclockwise till you see the voltage starts dropping. There we go. So I'm going to turn this down. Like I said, you can do between 5 and 6. I usually like to go about 5.5, and that's usually fine. And that's it. Now I take this jumper back out. If you're wondering, yes, this is a very fine screwdriver because you're going to need it to get in here. And even then it doesn't fit very well, so I kind of just sit it there, and just the force makes it move. So, but anyways, that's it. Now this is all together, and we're ready to move on to the next step.